Greetings! I am Herbert Erpaderp, and it's time for Ask a Herbert Erpaderp. Can you believe it's been 2 weeks already? Yeah, so can I. I mean, it's not especially unbelievable what with the predictable way in which time passes. Anyway, questions. First up, we have a voice question from Major General Bunk, which I forgot to include last time, because I'm a bad. Sorry about that.
Greetings! I have 2 questions for you this week. First off, what gloss varnish do you use? And secondly, is there a wargaming club near you where you can find people to play Flames of War and Bolt Action with?
Lately, as in the last year or two, I've pretty much only been using Minotaur gloss varnish. I think it's very good. Their matte varnish isn't quite so good, I mean it still works fine, but I like the AK Interactive Ultra Matte varnish a bit more. It looks more matte, I guess because it's ultra matte. I have also used Vallejo gloss varnish in the past, and that's pretty good too. I suppose most gloss varnishes are fairly alike. As long as they go on clear and shiny, they don't really have to do much else. I'm not sure if there's a wargaming club that specifically plays stuff like Bolt Action or Flames of War in the immediate area. I do know that there is some sort of generic gaming place nearby, but it seems to mostly focus on stuff like Magic the Gathering. I mean, that's fine, I just don't really want to play Magic the Gathering. Can't afford it. There is a place that's about 45 minutes drive that has people playing miniatures games like Flames of War and Bolt Action, and they also sell models there. I don't actually go there though. I find it kind of hard to set out the time for it, and I'm not that keen on going and hanging out with strangers and playing games with randos. I'm pretty introverted, though I think ambivert is probably the more accurate term, technically. I would probably give it a bit more consideration if it wasn't such a long drive. It might actually be worth considering going there with Barnaby when his Germans are ready, now that I think about it. They probably have some decent tables and stuff that we wouldn't have to find room for and set up ourselves. Something to think about. And now, the text-based questions. Duncanuva said, "What is love?" I don't know. I believe it has something to do with an infant and not wishing to receive further injuries. Ratto said, "Is what love?" The song where I'm getting all my information from doesn't specify the spelling on what. It could be what or what. This is truly an eye-opening revelation. Jontel said, "If golf is considered a sport, then should racing be?" Why wouldn't it be? I didn't realise that racing being a sport was ever in question. I suppose people really will try and gatekeep anything. Martin Gotham said, "I have a YouTube channel and I was wondering if you could have a look for ways of improvement. Also, have you listened to Rammstein radio?" I'm not really into doing critiques or whatever, but sure, I could have a look and maybe offer some ideas. I don't really consider myself an expert on YouTube or anything like that. I just make videos that I would like to see. Send me a link. This is of course not an invitation for everybody to send me links to critique their channels. I don't have the time or energy. I think I have heard radio by Rammstein. I really enjoy just saying Rammstein. They're not really my favourite band though, and I don't listen to them very often. But maybe I should add some to my streaming playlist or something. Skeletor said, "Which car do you drive?" My car. I have a Hyundai i30, the wagon variant. It's very wagony. Ratto said, "Is there a hobby-related product that you would like to try, but haven't yet for any reason, excluding models?" I haven't done anything with resin water type products before, and I think that might be interesting to try. And I would also like to try out the Colour Shift Chameleon paints that Green Stuff World has. Other than that, I can't really think of anything. But I'm sure there is a bunch of things. Probably the reason I haven't tried them is because I forget about them until I'm reminded. Then I go, ooh, I'd like to try that. Then I forget. It's all a vicious cycle, I tell you. SpaceFan247 said, "Do you fly RC aircraft?" That's RC, not RC. But I would fly an RC aircraft, and an RC one. Though the answer is I don't. If I did, you would know about it. I would definitely make videos about it. Probably mostly about me crashing and ruining my aircraft though. Have you seen the way I fly in video games? Badger said, "What is the most Australian thing you have ever witnessed?" I don't know. Maybe people drinking booze out of shoes? It's called a shoey, which sounds really stupid, and I think it is. I'm not sure if it's a uniquely Australian thing, but I think it might be. I have no interest in doing it myself, but I have seen it. I can't think of anything good that might be the most Australian thing I've ever seen. Except maybe the country itself? Does that count? Probably not. Duncanuva said, could you turn a KV-2 turret into a Bob sample? I suppose you could, but it would just be a weak imitation of the all-powerful Bob sample. Stuglife said, are you married? I'm not. I've never really had much interest in marriage. But if I ever do get married, it'll be a small and cheap wedding. I really don't get the people who spend thousands and thousands of dollars on weddings. I would rather do something sensible with the money. You Just Got Yagdpanthed said, if you could have a tank of your own, what would it be? It would be a tank. Ha 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 ha! Sorry. Maybe a KV-2 or a Centurion. I think if I were to actually get a tank, a Centurion would be the most likely candidate. I wouldn't have to try and import one from overseas like I suspect would be the case for pretty much any other tank. Eric Raider said, is the wildlife in Australia really that bad? Not really, especially not in cities and built-up areas. For the most part, if you leave the wildlife alone, it'll probably also leave you alone. I mean, you don't usually get bitten by a snake, for example, because it's a jerk and out to get you. It happens because you've intruded in its space and it didn't have any way to escape. As I understand it, most snakes will normally try to escape before attacking. I guess that doesn't really apply to things like crocodiles. You get eaten by those because you're tasty and were stupid enough to get in the water where they live. Really, the trick is to be careful. Trakan Beluvic said, if you play video games, I've got the impression from your streams that you have two playing modes. One, I want to kill someone and the fastest way in killing someone is to kill myself. Girls just want to have fun. Two, I take it half serious as long as the other half of the seriousness doesn't bother me. Am I right? That is more or less correct. I would also include, I want to do jumps and other fun or stupid things and I don't care if that means losing or blowing myself up. Also, what's the point in winning if winning isn't fun? Jack647 said, do you ever use Reddit? If so, what are your favourite subs? Yeah, sometimes. Reddit as a whole is pretty garbage though. It's full of people who sit on Reddit all day. I suppose my favourite subs are the modelling related ones. I think I most frequently check the bolt action one. I also think Churchill's Gone Wild is pretty funny, and occasionally I get a chuckle out of subs like I Am Very Smart, I Am Very Badass, Bad Women's Anatomy, and Nice Guys. The YouTube and Twitch subs are kind of useless, though I do check those out on occasion as well. It's a site I get bored with pretty quickly and I do prefer to use my time more productively. Letvar said, what is your favourite Sherman variant? The Calliope, because it's ridiculous and interesting to look at. Kidachu said, what are the best cookies? Taste is subjective. There is no best cookie and anyone that tries to tell you that the cookie that they like most is the best cookie is a fool. Garrus909 said, what theatre of World War II interests you the most? My personal favourite is the Pacific Theatre. I have a hard time choosing between the Eastern and Western fronts. Herbert being indecisive? What? Never. I like tanks, obviously, and a lot of cool tanks fought in both of those theatres. Though I think maybe the Eastern Front, if I have to choose. That answer could change from day to day. Skeletor said, can you show us your paint collection? It's not very exciting, and I'm definitely not going to go through it bottle by bottle because that sounds exhausting. My paints are mostly kept in drawers, because it takes up less space than racks, and I don't need it to be out and visible all the time. I do have one paint rack on my desk, and I use it as a kind of ready rack, for lack of better words. In it, I keep paints that I've used on projects I'm currently working on, or that I'll be likely to use in future. Stuff like Darktone and Black Grey are almost always in that rack. Sometimes I also keep paint in boxes like these, for reasons. The Big Boy said, does pineapple belong on pizza? Sure, if you want pineapple on your pizza, definitely have it. You can have anything you want on a pizza really. I quite like pineapple and I love it on pizza. People who tell you that you can't have pineapple on your pizza because they don't like it can get into the sun. Jondhell said, boneless chicken or chicken with bones. I hope this isn't too shocking a revelation, but chickens have bones. They don't come in a boneless variety. Maybe you mean processed chicken though. I guess the answer would be both, because both of them have their place. For the most part, I would prefer some nice chicken breast or maybe some drumsticks. I don't much care for wings because there's just too much bone and not enough meat for my liking, and I don't understand how they're so popular, but to each their own. SpaceFan247 said, do you prefer hobby shops or online shopping? I like both. I rather like being able to buy things without having to go out and interact with humans. Most of the wargaming models, 15 and 28mm stuff, I buy online, and a lot of that stuff just isn't in the local hobby shops. I want the physical stores to stay in business though, so I do try and buy stuff from them when it makes sense. I tend to buy consumables like paint and glue from them, also odds and ends like brass rod and styrene. Going to buy those things gives me an excuse to browse and almost always impulse buy something. Almost every 1/35th and 1/72nd scale kit I have was impulse bought from a local hobby shop. It's pretty easy to talk myself out of spending money that I don't really want to spend when I'm online. The Bismarck said, do you think that if the Germans actually had got their shit together they would have won the war? I'm no hypothetical futures doctor, but I doubt they would have. I think they could have made the war last longer, but I think they would have ran out of resources and been overcome by numerical superiority anyway. Most people don't want to live under Nazi occupation. Even if they had won the war, I don't think their victory would have been that long-lasting. People would resist and fight back. Either way, I'm glad they didn't, because fuck Nazis. The Vika said, is there a tool you hardly use, but each time you use it you are grateful you have it? Just watched Adam Savage talk about this and it made me think of you. That was a pretty good video, and it's a very good question. Also, I like that your brain in some way connects me and Adam Savage. That's cool, he's one of my heroes. I've been trying to think of a tool that would fit that description, but nothing is really coming to mind. I guess I don't really have a lot of tools to begin with. Mostly just the basics like files, clippers and knives, and I use those all the time. Maybe the answer is my static grass applicator. I almost never use it, but it's really handy when I do need it. The Big Boy said, what are your thoughts on Warlord's Cruel Seas? I am sort of interested in it, and some of the models do look pretty nice. I was actually thinking about getting one of the starter sets, probably the British. It seems to only be about small boats. I think I would be more interested if it featured bigger ships. And it does seem like some of the stuff is resin too. Maybe that's not so bad, but I would be more interested if it was all plastic. If I did buy it, it would be more for the models than the game itself, but maybe I would also try and play it. Who knows? In the comments of last fortnight's Ask a Herbert Erpaderp, Jack647 said, great video, I love that you do this. It's a great way to interact with the community. I'm glad you enjoy it. I like doing it, obviously. Otherwise I would stop doing it because these videos really don't get that many views. But I think the community is important, and these videos are worth doing. Sure, some of the questions get a bit repetitious, but sometimes they're really good questions that make me think of things that I wouldn't have otherwise thought of, and that's pretty cool. Jan Tima said, would you rather be a German or Russian tank commander in 1945? Neither of them really seem like good choices. Maybe Russian is the slightly better choice, because at least you would be on the winning side and you'd probably have enough fuel too. But also Gulag if you say the wrong thing. EP Art said, could you imagine the Airfix 1/600th scale Bismarck, but all the plastic parts are instead made of rubber? I guess I could imagine it, but it sounds horrendous. I guess at least the rubber parts might be flexible enough that you could make the hull components sort of line up. It doesn't sound great. Speaking of models, let's go and have a look at some of the stuff that has been shared in the Discord. As always, not everything has been shared because there is just so much stuff. If you do want to see everything, there's a link to the Discord community in the description. First up, Shermanaholic has finished this Sherman. Please insert joke here about Shermanaholic liking Shermans or something. Ha ha ha, hilarious. Seriously though, this is a really nice looking tank. If you can't tell by the markings, this Sherman belongs to the Free French, and it's named Champagne. Shermanaholic also painted the M36 turret to turn the Sherman into an M36B1, or at least I think that was the designation for it anyway. At any rate, this is awesome work. Keep it up. Monol shared this very nice Battlefront T62. This is a rather dirty, well-used looking machine. I like the blue colour in the vision devices too. It helps break up what is a pretty solidly single-coloured tank. It totally doesn't look as tiny as I know it is, and that's a sign of a good paint job in my opinion. And good photography. Well done. Also, Monol painted this Hind. This looks really nice. Kind of makes me want to build one myself too. I rather like the blue windows. I feel they add a lot of interest. They seem divisive though, some people don't like it. Monol does though, and that's what really matters. Fantastic whirlybird. Thunderchild189 said, "Who gave the Australians the M1 Abrams?" The Americans, I would imagine? Anyway, this is a 1/16th scale RC M1 that has been modified and repainted as an Australian M1. Looks pretty decent to me. RC tanks are fun. Eastern Union shared this muddy little T70. This is a very cool little tank that's been very well painted, including the hand-painted markings. The weathering is also very nice. I like the fuel stains, or what I'm assuming are fuel stains. They could also be oil. I feel like we don't see a lot of T70s around here. They're interesting little tanks, and I really like this one. Acidic Eggplant shared this KV-1, saying it's the first tank they ever built. I've got no idea if they have other modelling experience before building this, but I would imagine so. If not, that's really impressive for a first go. And either way, it's very good. Much better than my first tank would have been. Ratto shared these Age of Sigma rights for Shadespire. That's a bit of a mouthful to say. So much sibilance. These were commissioned, and they look amazing. The bases are quite interesting too. I rather like the one stepping over the log. And as Ratto says, they look even better after varnish. Also, here are some corn guys for Warhammer Underworlds. I really like that angry red doggo. Very good work. Trekan Beluvic shared this British Sherman. This is a 15mm scale resin and metal model from Battlefront. It's marked as Junior Regiment Irish Guards, 2nd Armoured Battalion of the Guards Armoured Division B Squadron HQ Troop. Trekan only had one HQ decal left, so improvised with a golden star on the other side of the turret for recognition during games. I think this is a really nicely painted tank. Very good work. Stug Life shared this Musashi, which is a big thick ship. This looks really good. Either that's one big model, or a tiny piano. Either way, very cool. Also, can the Musashi play as a song? Tachycoma 1373 shared this work-in-progress diorama inspired by Kelly's Heroes. It's named 5 Hours Later. I rather like this. The pontoon bridge is an airfix kit, which has been slimmed down a little and expanded with some 3D printed inflatable pontoons and lollipop stick planking. Though apparently that's going to be changed. Very nice work. If you go on the Discord server, there's other pictures of this too. You should definitely check them out. Benny13 just finished painting the Splinter camouflage parka on this 120mm scale figure, and has decided to share some progress pictures. As one commenter said, "Are you sure that's paint and not real fabric? This is really awesome and very convincing work. I can't wait to see the completed figure." James Valentine shared his second Romanian T4. This looks significantly different to the first one, but just as awesome. This is the Rubicon Models Panzer 4J with etched steel skirts. He says it came out a lot more worn looking than he was aiming for, but that's okay. I think it looks fantastic. McGobbo has shared some Chaos Space Marines, saying that I would probably call them spiky shooty boys. And, well, he's not wrong. They are spiky shooty boys. If you've seen McGobbo's previous work, you probably won't be surprised by how good these look, which is very good, by the way. They do look like very chaotic fellows, and I probably wouldn't want to hang out with them. Too chaotic. Excellent models though. Space Monkey has finished their Hawk T2. It's painted in a very fetching pre-production black and silver prototype livery. I don't know a whole lot about jets, but I do know that this looks very interesting and you've done a really good job with the painting. Very nice. Sneaky Zaku has just finished putting together some Imperial tractors, and a converted super crane, for when a regular crane is just not good enough. I have no idea what these are for, but they do look rather interesting. They've also got a steampunk minus all the gears, crossed with a 1950s feel to them. Very cool. The big boy shared this model collect 1/72nd scale T72 AV in Egyptian service, and says that they're really proud of this one. And I think you should be. It's really quite good. I like the weathering. It very much looks like an in-use vehicle. There's exhaust soot, oil and/or fuel spillages, but it doesn't look overdone. I think it's really good. Keep up the excellent work. The Vika wasn't happy using N-scale tracks for Flames of War, and so has scratch-built some new tracks. Very nice. I like how you've got these across 3 bases too. I'm excited to see this all painted up. And that's it for the models this fortnight. I hope these images inspire you as much as they've inspired me. I mean, it's not going to make me paint faster, but it does boost my motivation quite a bit. As always, a big thank you to the people who shared so much awesome stuff in Discord. It's pretty hard to choose what to show in these videos. And thank you to those who submitted questions. Obviously, there can't be an Ask a Herbert Erpaderp if the Herbert Erpaderp doesn't get asked things. If you have a question, I'm pretty sure by this point you know what to do. Remember, if you're a patron, you have the option to ask a question in your own voice. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can. Also, if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, follow, ring the bell and all the other things you do on YouTube and social media. Links to all the things including Patreon and my Twitch channel are in the description below, and you can find the join button down there too. As always, I shall return soon, so until then, be excellent to each other, and thank you for watching. Farewell.